I think we've all used YouTube to learn some do-it-yourself tricks, whether it comes to baking, or pottery, or even beating a video game. But Oddity Central reports that a man from Brazil turned to YouTube for a different reason. He used tutorials and superglue in an attempt to perform a nose job on himself. You can find all sorts of DIY tutorials on YouTube these days, and yup, that apparently includes rhinoplasty surgery. For the man from Sao Paulo, Brazil, the end result was a trip to the Campo Limpo Emergency Care Unit with an infected wound. The man told doctors that he did not use any gloves to perform the procedure and didn't clean the wound as not to open his stitches. He said he used rubbing alcohol to disinfect the area and veterinary anesthetic to numb the pain. After he was done operating, a loose term for that, he used self-absorbing thread and superglue to close the wound. This story is now shining a spotlight on the so-called home rhinoplasty videos that allegedly teach people how to make their noses smaller or thinner. Doctors warn that such amateur surgical procedures can, in addition to causing the opposite effect to the desired one, lead to death. Fortunately, in this man's case, the hospital was able to clean the wound and provide dressing and guidance on the necessary care, allowing the patient to be discharged on the same day. I suppose it could have been worse, right? I mean, DIY penile enlargement or open heart surgery probably would have had a different outcome.
Okay, pretty harsh punishment here, even though it was a weird crime. ABC News AU reports that a 26-year-old man from Nepal who has been living in Australia since 2015 could be placed on the sex offenders register, which his lawyer says could lead him to being deported. What did the man do that led to this issue? Well, in 2021, he was working as a food delivery driver in the Australian city of Hobart. On the day in question, the man had finished his early morning delivery shift and headed to a nearby park. Assuming no one was around, he began to masturbate in his car. The court heard a council worker then approach the car to let the man know he could not park there. When he knocked on the window, he realized the man was masturbating, and the council worker told him to leave. The man immediately drove away, but later on he was charged with 1 count of prohibited behavior, to which he pleaded guilty. As part of the court case, he underwent a risk assessment to determine whether or not he was at risk of reoffending, which could then be used by the court to determine whether or not he should be placed on the sex offenders register. He was found to have a medium risk of reoffending, and so that's why he now faces the possibility of being deported back to Nepal. I guess the question is, did an actual sexual offense happen here? I mean, who was the victim? His hand? The car? Seriously, where is Judge Judy when you need her?
You mean they couldn't just tell the traveler to scarf them down real quick? CNN reports that a passenger traveling from Bali, Indonesia to Australia had to pay a heavy price for a McDonald's breakfast. The unnamed traveler was handed a fine of 2,664 Australian dollars, or about 1,900 US dollars, after 2 undeclared egg and beef sausage McMuffins and a ham croissant were found in their luggage upon arrival at Darwin Airport in the country's Northern Territory. The incident came about days after Australian authorities brought in tough new biosecurity rules after a foot and mouth disease outbreak in Indonesia spread to Bali, a popular destination for Australian tourists. Australia's Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry said a range of undeclared risk products, including the fast food items, were detected in the passenger's rucksack by a biosecurity detector dog named Zinta. "This will be the most expensive Macca's meal this passenger ever has," Murray Watt, Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forest, said in a statement. He added, "This fine is twice the cost of an airfare to Bali, but I have no sympathy for people who choose to disobey Australia's strict biosecurity measures, and recent detections show you will be caught." The statement went on to confirm that the passenger had been issued with a 12-unit infringement notice for failing to declare potential high biosecurity risk items and providing a false and misleading document. The seized products are to be tested for foot and mouth disease before being destroyed. $1,900 for a couple of Egg McMuffins. What about the people you always hear about who try to smuggle in fruit or live animals? What the hell is Australia going to do to them? A public execution?
We really do live in a time in which everybody is offended by something. The Associated Press reports that a 41-year-old woman from Milton, Delaware named Carrie Lynn Overington had a vanity license plate recalled. State officials described it as a perceived profanity. Overington applied for the plate, which read F Cancer, in December 2020 and received it 2 months later. She is a breast cancer survivor and obviously wanted the plate for that reason. But in June 2021, she got a letter from the manager of the DMV office in Dover, Delaware, telling her that the plate did not represent the division and the state in a positive manner and was being recalled. Overington reached out to the state transportation security, Nicole Majeski, for help, but Majeski stood by the decision to recall the plate, saying officials must ensure that they are not approving license tags that contain obscenity, vulgarity, profanity, hate speech, or fighting words. Overington noted that there are plenty of other F words in the English language, including freedom, and that her license tag did not actually spell the word about which DMV officials were concerned. She also pointed out that the DMV itself has used implied profanity on electronic signs advising motorists to drive safely. Those messages include, "Get your head out of your apps," and "Oh, sell no." Overington ultimately responded by filing a lawsuit, claiming that the state officials had violated her First Amendment rights. The state sought to dismiss the lawsuit, but federal judge Richard Andrews has denied the dismissal motion. Sounds like those state officials need to touch grass. Isn't that what the cool kids say today?
If you want to see all our videos about real news stories that are funny, stupid, or weird, click the subscribe button below. I mean, hey, my cat's gotta eat.